We only get better at dealing with grief. The size of the grief remains the same. It does not get smaller. We only get bigger. We only get bigger. And this is the truth. We only get bigger. So it is fine if you reminisce sometimes. You break down sometimes. It is okay. Just feel through the experience, dust yourself up, and continue living your life. You can be in your happiest moment at the same time you are grieving. You can be celebrating the birth of a child while grieving the loss of another one. You can be celebrating a milestone achievement while grieving the loss of a friendship or the loss of one thing. It is the color of the human experience or the rainbow of the human experience. Welcome to another edition of the Modus Operandi podcast. I remain yours truly, Dr. Bimak, aka Dr. Macaulay Barnabas. I want to imagine that you're having an amazing weekend thus far. Whether you're at work, whether you're taking a walk, jogging, whether you're doing your chores, whatever you're doing, I really hope that you're fine. I hope that you're hopeful and you're refreshed. I'll be jumping straight into today's conversation. It's on grief and regret, dealing with grief and regret. I'm now thinking, are you sure you can cover these two topics in one episode? Why don't you separate both? But we'll see how that goes. Grief and regret. These are two human experiences that are part of our experiences. It is not something we can shy away from. It's not something we can theologize in the sense of gaslighting ourselves like they don't exist. We all have regrets and we are all grieving as I speak in different ways and forms, shapes or forms. It is part of life's equation. And it is something that we have to really talk about, add into our life's curriculum, so that we are able to properly navigate these experiences. I will talk about grief first. I have seen people lose it because they did not understand grief. I have someone in mind. I think his name is Presley. Yeah, Presley. It was one of the icons of pop. In fact, known as the father of pop music. Before he started having Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley. When Elvis Presley lost his mom, he became a different person. And there's another person called Adriano. Adriano was a football player, a forward for the club called Inter Milan. The trajectory of his career changed when he lost his dad. He got into drugs, he became addicted, drinking and everything. That was how his career as a footballer dilapidated. Painful stuff. And these are just public examples. And we have personal examples of people, friends who transformed into someone entirely different because of the loss of something. It could be a job, it could be a friendship, it could be a marriage, it could be something that really mattered to them. I will begin this conversation with a quote by someone named Jamie Anderson. The person said, "Grief is just love that has nowhere else to go." Truly, over time, we talk about how to maintain relationships, how to nurture relationships, understand emotional intelligence, how to communicate, patience, conflict resolution, and what have you. It is remarkable and commendable. But we often do not talk about the flip side of this experience, the alternate aspect of this whole equation, which is grief. It is the flip side of love. What then happens when the object of your love no longer exists? Or when that relationship, that intimacy ceases? What happens? What happens when you lose that job? What happens when that marriage ends? Maybe because there was divorce or as a result of the death of your loved one. What happens when that career that you so much love and venerate ceases to exist? What happens? How do you navigate these moments? So this is why I wanted to really have this conversation today. I lost a friend in 2024. Amazing person, one of the most kind-hearted person you can come across. She lost her mom, and there was a misunderstanding between us. That misunderstanding resulted into the end of the friendship. I was really hurt. I was grieving that I lost this friendship. And she was grieving the person that was most important to her, her mom. I was I was sad for her, obviously, but more importantly, sad that she would react the way she did. But as time went on, I got to really understand that when you are really grieving, your lens is blurry. You tend to magnify people's action, and that is an expression of anger. I will come into that later on when talking about Kubler-Ross stages of grief. I got to understand it over time, but then I was really, really hurt. Friendship of 13 years. We have been through a lot, but then again, there is no formula to expressing grief. However, there are principles. So what I'm trying to say here is that there is a way to grieve. Tying it back to the first statement I made about Elvis Presley and Adriano, people who lost their life, in quotes, because of the loss of a loved one, because of the emblem of that person to them, what those people they lost represents to them. We've all lost someone, and we are currently regretting something. So this episode of this podcast is very essential. I'd had it in mind way back, like 4 months ago. So I'm glad I'm having this conversation now. So grief is simply love that has nowhere to go. I remember when I was watching the movie The Hobbit, I think the third part of the franchise, titled The Battle of the Five Armies, there was this elf that fell in love with a dwarf. I think they fell in love with each other, of course. And the dwarf was killed in that final battle. She was holding the dwarf in her arms. She was crying and grieving. And she was asking, why does this hurt so much? Then another elf told her that it is because she truly loved him. That is just the picture of grief. It is love that has nowhere else to go. An experience you cannot deal with. So I'll talk about Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief. Kubler-Ross was a Swedish-American psychiatrist that released a book called On Death and Dying. And in this Death and Dying, she expressed the 5 stages of grief. 5 stages of grief. Now, these 5 stages of grief are denial, anger. Is it anger? Bargaining, depression, acceptance. Yes, that is it. Denial. First is denial. Second is anger. Third is bargaining. Fourth is depression. And the last is acceptance. These are the 5 stages of grief. Now, she highlighted something. Why these are the 5 stages of grief, it doesn't mean that for everybody it has to be procedural. That's why I said in the beginning of this podcast, this episode, that there is no formula, but there are principles, right? It manifests itself from persons to persons. It differs, right? So one person, you may be in depression stage this minute. On Wednesday, you are back to acceptance. Thursday, you are in denial. So there is no formulaic expression of these stages. However, there is the cognizance of these stages. There's the presence and the reality of these stages. I will talk about this briefly. First, about denial. Denial is actually a defense mechanism. This is your mind protecting you from the initial effects of the news, of the grief, of the emotion. If it wasn't there, we may be paralyzed as a result of that emotion that may come heavy sometimes. So denial is to first tell yourself, oh, no, it's not happening. No, it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. It's not happening. This is not happening. It can't be me. No, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. Then the next stage is anger, where it's a form of subtle negotiation. You're angry at the doctor who probably gave the news of the loss of the loved one, or the insurance manager that tells you that, oh, we are sorry, we cannot do this at this time. or whatever it is, you're just angry, or at your friends, you're angry. Then the third is bargaining, where you're bargaining with God. Okay, if you do this, I will do this. If you do this, I will do this. You know, I think primarily, if I personally is to break these stages down, it's just denial and acceptance. Because every other stages between denial and acceptance are acceptance, various form of acceptance. The next is depression, because you already recognize that this has happened. But there's now a sad depression where you are mourning. We are mourning the loss. You're mourning. There is deep depression. And this is not necessarily clinical depression, though often it may lead to clinical depression. This is a normal human reaction to loss. You don't have any psychological problems. It is normal. It is part of the whole experience. You are sad. You are sorrowful. You are sorrowful. Now Jesus Christ told his disciple, "Please pray for me. I'm sorrowful to the point of death." That kind of sorrow. You're asking yourself, what's the point of it all? What's the point of this whole experience? What's the point? Next is, which is the last, is acceptance. Now, acceptance is not you saying it is okay. No, acceptance is you saying this exists. I'm not getting over it. Rather, I'm finding how to integrate this into my life as part of my life experience with other experiences I will be having. It's not a way to say, oh, I have accepted, oh. No. It's more of accepting the reality of the fact that this will always exist. I will always feel the loss. I will always feel that space in my heart. Rather than avoiding it, I'm integrating it into my life, navigating how to integrate this as part of my life experiences. And that is fine, and that is healthy. So these are these 5 stages of grief that was released by Kubler-Ross in her book on death and dying in 1969. It has been helpful in the psychological community. In the psychology community, it has been helpful over time in people understanding grief, so that it does not feel strange to them if they are going back and forth in these experiences. So another way to understand grief is this, or how will I put it? How to deal with grief. The first is discarding the myth of timeline. There is no such thing as time heal all wounds. Grief is a wound that really never heals. You only get better at navigating it. And this is the truth. If you find yourself 10 years after the loss of that friendship or that loved one or that career or whatever it is that means so much to you, if you find yourself feeling a type of way, it is not you reflecting immaturity. No, it is you reflecting humanity. It is fine. We only get better at dealing with grief. The size of the grief remains the same. It does not get smaller. We only get bigger. We only get bigger. We only get bigger. So it is fine if you reminisce sometimes. You break down sometimes. It is okay. Just feel through the experience, dust yourself up, and continue living your life. You can be in your happiest moments at the same time you are grieving. You can be celebrating the birth of a child while grieving the loss of another one. You can be celebrating a milestone achievement while grieving the loss of a friendship or the loss of one thing. It is the color of the human experience or the rainbow of the human experience. It is not always just yellow. Sometimes you're having yellow and there is a red in between. There is a blue in between. There is a green in between. It is navigating this myriad of colors and experiences. So it is fine. Second is the dua process. Now, what is the dua process? The dua process is, the first is the loss-oriented process, which is going through the process, not discarding it. In the story of Job, God was pissed at them because that's the friends of Job's. Now, I am not entirely demonizing the friend because they got something right. They heard that their friend was going through something terrible. They left what they were doing and came to be with the friend, pouring ashes upon themselves, tearing their clothes. That is commendable. That is commendable. I think some of us do not even know how to do that. I will come into that later on. But they got something right. Their theology was simplistic. And I find this in churches sometimes, especially when I began my journey into understanding suffering in 2026. No, what am I saying? In 2016, 2017. People have a very simplistic ideology of grief and suffering. Oh, you are going through this thing because you did something wrong. This, what will I call it? This faulty definition of karma. Good people get good, bad people get bad. Life does not work that way. Life is more complex than that. The book of Ecclesiastes really delved into this conversation. You get to realize that life is not dualistic. It is gray. It is gray too. It is black, it is white, and also gray. That is the culmination of life. There are things that happen that are way beyond our conception of justice, that are way beyond our conception of what is good and what is bad, way beyond our conception of what suffering is. We'll come into that. So they got it wrong. They were gaslighting Job. You are not innocent. God is righteous. If God is righteous, every other person is guilty. You are going through what you are going through because you did something wrong. The third one was saying, was the Eliphaz, that in fact what you are going through is not even enough compared with what you are going through now. You may mean well with a theology, but you can kill a soul with it. You can ruin somebody's faith with it. You can. One thing I love about truth is that it is empathetic and prescriptive. Love is empathetic and prescriptive. It doesn't just come and tell you, get up. No, it empathizes with you. So in the dual process of going through grief is to go through the mourning process. Go through it. Talk about the person. Talk about the job that you lost. Check their pictures. Do not bury it because our brain is a poor hard drive. It is poor. What you bury eventually will explode. It will explode. And it will explode and implode in ways that will ruin you. Don't bury it somewhere. And the other part of this dual process is restoration oriented. It is taking a break. Take a 10 minutes walk. Do other things. Listen to music, dance, laugh. Because the idea of this dual process is to be in the middle. You don't want to be so much in the mourning process that you are swallowed by it and not existing anymore. Hence, not existing anymore. And you also do not want to be carried away by activities as a way to ignore the obvious, the elephant in the room, to the point whereby you bury it. It will manifest. You will break down. You will not even know. Our mind is very fragile. The third is the actual first aid. Because you are crying, sweating, and everything, drink water. Drink water. Rehydrate. Hydrate yourself. Drink water. Exercise. Take some walk to bring down the cortisol level in your brain. Take some walk. And this third one is very important. On the psychological aspect, do not make any rash decision. At least between the first month to the sixth month. In the first 6 months of the grieving process, do not make any rash decision by selling your house, ending a friendship, or begin one. Do not quit your job. And why this is important is that when you are grieving, you don't see things clearly. I believe this was what happened to my friend. That was why I lost that friendship. You do not see things clearly. Everything is magnified because you are vulnerable. Do not begin any relationship when you are grieving. Do not end any relationship when you are grieving. Do not quit your job. Do not sell your house. Don't sell anything. Don't make any rash decision. At least in the first 6 months of grieving. Don't, please. The fourth or fifth is have someone you can talk to. You can just rant to. Someone that can be quiet. You don't have to be performative. You don't have to form strongman too. Jesus Christ did it. He had Peter, James, and John. He called them aside at the Garden of Gethsemane. He ranted. He spoke. Please pray for me. I'm sorrowful to the point of death. He was vulnerable at that point. He was grieving. Have someone like that, or few people like that, who can just sit down and not say anything. On the flip side, if you have someone who is grieving, don't give answers. There are no answers. Keep your mouth shut. Yes. Just be quiet. Just be there for them. Just be there for them. That is the best thing you can do. A hug. That is the best thing you can do. Don't. Oversabi is a terrible thing sometimes. Even if you mean well. Don't. Just be quiet. Just call. Just be there. Sometimes that is the most beautiful thing you can do. Lastly, in dealing with grief, this is not the lastly, there's the major lastly, is letting go of the why. Letting go of the why. We sometimes feel that having answers to why these things happen is what will give us relief, closure. No, it is not. It is not. It is not. Sometimes they perpetuate the pain more than necessary. Having answers will never give relief. As easy as this is to say, it is the most helpful thing you can do for yourself. Letting go of the why. God did not give Job why. God did not give Job the answer to his why. God did not. God asked him, where were you when I laid down the measurements of the earth? When I stretched it from this to that? Where were you when I laid the boundaries between the sun and the night? Where were you when I... Asking questions. These were rhetorical questions. Trying to pass a message across to Job. To make him see that his mind is too small to comprehend the complexity of the universe. If God gives you the answer, your brain will melt. Some things we can never understand. Rather than looking for the why, we should look at ways to adapt to the presence of the grief, of the reality of the grief, of the pain. Now, how to deal with grief. The last part of how to deal with grief, which is the fundamental part of dealing with grief. The most hopeful part of dealing with grief. What is going through grief without hope? What is going through grief without hope? And I want to say something too. Grief is a test of our faith. It's a test of our faith. This gospel, if you truly believe in Jesus, that Jesus Christ came to die, Grief will reveal. It will reveal. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, Paul was talking about grief, hope, the loss of brethren. He said, I do not want you to be ignorant of these matters. I love the completion of scriptures, how it addresses various aspects of life. He was talking to the brethren. He said, these people are sleeping, awaiting the coming of Jesus. That when Jesus Christ appear, they will join him first in the air before us who are alive. That is, should Jesus come now, our brethren who are dead, who are sleeping, will rise up first. Look at the preference. VIP. My brother that I lost when I was just 5 years old, he will join up with Jesus first before I do. My friend that I lost will join up with Jesus before I do. Your dad that you lost, your mom that you lost. That's beautiful. They are sleeping. It is not mythology. It is truth. Because Jesus Christ came, he died, and he resurrected. There is a prototype. So I have nothing to be afraid of. There is hope for me. There is hope for you. I am not grieving blindly. There is hope. I am grieving on the foundation of hope. So you can see how truth manifests itself. It empathizes with you, understanding the reality of grief, telling you about grief, telling you it's fine to go through grief, telling you how to go through grief, inculcating it, understanding that it is part of life. Then telling you that there is hope. There is a way to go through grief. There is hope. He said, I do not want you to grieve blindly. But because you can grieve blindly, there is a wrong way to grieve. So the right way to grieve, fundamentally speaking, is this grieving from the perspective of hope. If you lost that job, oh, God is a God of second chance, third chance, fifth chance. If you lost that loved one that died in faith, when Jesus appears, they rise up first. They are sleeping, they are not death. Death is not final. It is only the beginning of another reality. So I am not alone. God is with me. The Holy Spirit that comforts me, the Comforter is with me. It lies in me. For the kingdom of God is not a matter of eating and drinking, but of peace, joy, and righteousness in the Holy Ghost. I have peace, the peace that surpasses all understanding. I have joy. If they do not deny the experience, they help me navigate the experience. Because faith do not deny fact. It gets stronger even in the presence of fact. Romans 4:20. Abraham knew that his body was as good as death, but without weakening in his faith, he was strengthened in faith. That is how to grieve. Joy does not ignore pain. No, it magnifies itself in spite of the presence of pain, helping us navigate pain properly. That is grieving. Regret is a form of grief. So I'm talking about the same thing. Now I'm going into regret. Last week I talked about Soren Kierkegaard and how I'm going to talk about regrets today. You know, you choose a career path. You'd always imagine how your life would have been if you did not, if you had chosen another career path. You married this person and you start thinking how your life would have been if you did not and you married someone else that was in the picture when you were about choosing your spouse. We do not have alternate realities. The only reality we have is the one we have. There's no way to have known how your life would have been if you had chosen something else. So Søren Kierkegaard wasn't saying you should ignore regret. Rather, it was saying you should acknowledge the presence of regret and how to navigate regret while living your current reality. Because sometimes people can be swallowed up by regret that they are not currently being useful in their current realities. Oh, if I had gone to America when the opportunity came. Oh, if I had not married this person. No, you cannot live there. You have to be in the moment. We all have regrets. All of us. Life is full of regrets. Same as grief. So the key is not the avoidance of regret. First, choosing the kind of regret. Second, finding ways to live despite the regret. Because there are situations whereby you have the privilege of understanding the repercussions for your decision. And you choose the ones that you can deal with. That's what I mean by the first one. Okay, I know I can cope with this. If I choose this path, I can cope with the regret of not choosing this path. But if I don't, I can't. So I'd rather choose this path. But there are other times you don't have the luxury of phantoming the repercussions. What you can do is blossom in your current path. In that marriage, blossom. Stop thinking, oh, what if I had not married this person? It is foolishness. The aim is to be effective with what you have, making the best with what you have. Excellence at the end of the day, it is doing the best with what you have. Producing the best results with your given resources. So that's all I can say as regards that topic. Grief and regret. I hope this has been a beautiful episode for you. I hope it has been useful. Please come back to this from time to time to remind yourself of this. I was blessed, and I hope you were blessed as well. Do have an amazing week. God bless you immensely. Take care.